יאללה, פעם שלישית גלידה, אז in Hebrew we say 3 times ice cream. If something happens 3 times, then you owe me ice cream, but we're gonna make this happen. So I'm seeing a lot of discourse online about regretting motherhood, not wanting to be a mother. You know what? I'll have plan B. I'm gonna be the cool aunt. Don't call me up when you have trouble with your babies. You decided to have that baby. And I wanted to share my perspective truly from the bottom of my heart because it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I think it would also be very interesting to hear an Israeli perspective. Obviously, not the Israeli perspective, but things are very, very different around here. So get your cup of shoko. I don't drink coffee, but I promise I'm still credible. And let's talk about it. Um, the first thing I want to say is that a lot of people are talking about how uh, raising children, you need a village, mothers are doing this alone, there's not enough support. Obviously, in Israel, healthcare is different than in America and in other Western places. So every place has their own way of supporting mothers and families. So I don't want to talk about that because I feel like it's really a deadbeat horse that we're going around and making turns at beating it. And obviously, there should be help for moms. Obviously, mothers should have help. Obviously, mothers should be admired and grateful. We should be grateful for them. But I want to talk about a few different things. In Israel, in every sector, religious, what we call light religious, ultra orthodox, what we call chiloni, which I think is the most similar sector to Western culture and to America. They very much take after them, admire them, have the same values as them. In Israel, there's a lot of discussion about values. So different values create different sectors, and it's very common to speak about it in youth groups, in communities, in family tables. It's something that comes up a lot. And in every one of those sectors, the birth rate is very high, higher than what it is in other Western countries. Um, I think it's between 2 or 3 for the non religious sector, which is the most westernized. And in Orthodox families or ultra Orthodox Jewish families, it could get up to 7+ children. Israelis love children. We love them. And I think a big difference that I see in the culture is that we grow up with kids around us, with children. We get to know them. I think in a lot of Western countries, there's almost this children desert, right? Like a food desert that no one gets nutritious food, like a children desert. And I think it's created in the beginning, it was created because people were getting married later and later. And what happens is that you're spending most of your life on your own or in a relationship where you're not having children. And then the family or a family reunion, you wouldn't have kids running around because all the kids grew up and you're having fewer kids. So what happens is between the babies being born and the kids and the little toddlers being raised, there's a huge gap. So you don't get to see them in culture anymore. And people having children at 30 plus. So you don't grow up, you don't see children in the streets as much. And I think it's even more than that. Obviously, I'm not saying that there aren't kids in the street, but I think it's so common to go through life and barely see kids in Israel. That's not a thing. All my neighbors, they all have little kids, young children, unless you're going to a specific community where it's a very um, uh, how would you say it? It's a very rich community, or the housing is very expensive, so young couples can't afford it. Then you're gonna walk around. There's gonna be kids in the street. Every family reunion, there's gonna be children there. I think something that exemplifies that uh, very dramatically is the amount of playgrounds that there are in Israel, to the point where municipalities pride themselves on how many playgrounds and parks they build. And even if you go to older, um, like more obviously the newer cities, so they can design them with parks, but older cities, then every corner they can shove a little slide or swings, then they do that. Places for parents to take their kids out so they can just play with them in the street, so the kids can run around safely, so they have something to do to entertain them. It's like there's almost this like park culture, right? Every new city that they build, every new um, neighborhood, they're gonna put at least one major playground. Like you can see in the pictures, these are serious stuff. These are serious places for kids to play in. And it's for free. Yeah, you just walk in. It's just the municipality wants to build it because it wants to attract younger families and younger demographics. And I think um, the most meaningful place you would see it is in your house. When I was 6 years old, my youngest sister was born, and I got to see her a toddler at 5 when I was 11, when I was already an older child. To Americans, 11 might seem like, oh, you're so small, you're such a little kiddo. But in Israel, once you have younger siblings, then you're not considered such a small kid anymore. It makes a really big difference. And I think women are growing up, and I'm going to say this specifically for women, but it's very meaningful for men as well. I just don't have that perspective. Women are growing up, and you don't get to hold a baby when you're 7, right? Because who would trust a 7-year-old with a baby? But in Israel, that's so common. You don't get to watch over a 5-year-old when you're 10. You don't have these small experiences that they incrementally build in you the love for children and the desire for children. Instead, when you're 30, you're expected to want a child, even though you haven't built the confidence and the familiarity with babies, with kids. And it's complicated because there's two aspects of it. One is that I want to encourage you, if you're a woman, and say it's so natural for you. It's so natural for you to love babies and adore them and be good with them, understand what they mean. These little humans, you've got your intuition to guide you, to know what they want. So many times I work with babies, just automatically you understand what they want, and it's something that me and all my friends experience and all the women around me. So much so that in some ways it's more natural for me to take care of my nieces and nephews more than my brothers-in-law, for example. And they're amazing dads. They're present, they're fun, they're loving, they're caring, they're responsible, but they're a bit farther away. Their intuition is a bit farther away than mine when it comes to babies. So I want to encourage you and say, it's so natural. You've got this. You just have to hold a baby for one time, and he starts crying, and in the beginning it's scary. You don't know what to do. You're holding a baby. You've been a baby a few years ago. You don't know what you're doing. But it kicks in and you start understanding, oh, maybe he's hungry, maybe he wants his mom. You start learning to calming them down. So on the one hand, it's very natural. And I think that's why a lot of women still naturally want children. But I think there's also a part of it that it has to be familiar, right? I'm thinking, for example, if I've never heard about Greenland, the only thing I've ever saw was TikToks and videos about people either complaining that it's the worst place ever, or people saying that, you know what, it's hard, but it's worth it, it's meaningful, it's valuable. Then why would I ever want to move there and live there for the rest of my life? Because children are a commitment for the rest of your life. And that's very scary if you're not familiar with it and you don't know what it means. But when you grow up around children, it's so natural. You get to hold a baby, right? It's one of the bonuses of being an aunt. I get to hold a baby when I want to. When I don't want to, I don't have to take care of it. And it's so important to have those areas when you're an older sister, when you're an aunt, where you get to know babies and you get to know the magic of children without yet having the responsibility before you decide, oh, this is something possible for me. This is something that will gratify me, that will add to my life so much. So I think baby deserts are a really big reason why women don't want to have kids, because it's a huge responsibility and it's unfamiliar to them. And I think sometimes when we come and the discussion is around, it's so important, we have to have families and the replacement rate, then we're missing the individual that's standing here and saying, I don't know if I have it in me for the rest of my life. And it's a very scary thought. So I want to challenge you. I want to put out this challenge that, okay, take it as a challenge, right? Like someone could say, I want to go skydiving. For me, that's the craziest thing alive. In the world. I hate heights, But you know what? For one time, maybe even I would do it for once. And I think go around your friend that has kids, but be there for a day, okay? It might be a bad day. Usually there's bad hours because babies are cranky and they're sad sometimes and they're tired, just like humans. They're small humans. It makes so much sense. I want to challenge you. Do it in something in like a bite size of an experience with kids. Really, really get to be with them. And don't feel any shame if you're uncomfortable around them. I think because we're not familiar enough, then we feel like we're uncomfortable around them. And then obviously, why would I want this little creature intimidating me all day? And of course, it's intimidating. It's so natural because you have to learn how to approach a baby. Once you approach a few babies, then you feel like you got this down, you can approach any of them. But just like as young adults, we learn to go to interviews, to start new jobs, to go to university. We learn how to interact with other young adults and adults that are much more mature than us. Then we have to learn the language of babies. It's very simple and you're going to catch on to it. But take it as an experiment, just to feel the joy of having kids. Because I think it's so easy for us to just see them as burdens. And that's the next thing that I want to talk about. This whole talk about babies like they're a burden. And I think, wow, I'm not sure where to talk about this because I understand where it's coming from, right? Because it's restricting. Having a baby is taking on responsibility, and responsibility is restricting. And obviously, we can talk about the only place you find meaning is in responsibility, in assuming responsibility. And that's something that also Israeli culture has from a very young age. Parents are much more likely to give their kids responsibility, either babysitting their younger siblings or around the house, cooking, cleaning, or going shopping. It's not uncommon to see a 10-year-old taking his little 5-year-old brother on the bus, paying for the both of them. They're sitting there. Obviously, Israel has different safety, so I wouldn't say to specifically do that. But I remember when there was the parenting challenge, right, to give your kid a mission that you wouldn't otherwise let them do. That's something that's so common in Israel. We forget that children are like little humans and we see them as a burden, as restricting, like we have to take care of them. And it's true, they need you and you're responsible for them. But I think we're missing that children sometimes, because they're small humans, they have the ability to teach us to live in wonder. We all want to live and we all want to live a life worth living, right? We don't want a life of suffering. And something about the simplicity of childhood does that. It just does that naturally. And I think sometimes it's burdensome for us to go out of ourselves and always be there for someone else. But first of all, that's magical in and of itself. But it's also very, very magical to tune in to like the kids' radio station. And life is a game. It's amazing. Life is a game. Life is a challenge. Life is a game. Life is fun. It's hard when we're so burdened by our traumas of the past and our worries for the future, then it's hard for us to tune into the present. But I think what kids do so well is that they are presents. That's what they are. They still don't know to look forward. They're learning that, which is crazy. It's crazy to see. You can see how kids are learning to think in future and past tense. I remember one of the first times my nephew, my 3-year-old nephew, wanted to tell me a story, and he didn't have the word yesterday, right? Because he didn't learn how to think in time yet. But he wanted to tell me something that happened yesterday, but he didn't know. So he told me, today, Abba is dad in Hebrew. Abba took me to buy ice cream and he was so excited. And it was something that happened like yesterday or 2 days ago. We didn't have the words for it. And I think if we could learn to tune in to also be kids, right? Kids need a parent. Why? Because the parent can be half kid, half adult. He can be a kid enough to play with them and enjoy them, have fun with them, and enough of an adult to show them what to grow into. Naturally, you don't have to overthink it. I think we do a lot of overthinking, and then that's on mothers, and we'll talk about it soon. But when we look at kids like, oh, they're taking me out of my adult life and that's burdensome and I can't do whatever I want, then I think that's when we forget that kids are giving us a gift that we can't always find in other places. The joy of learning life from the beginning and having everything be a game and being truly present. And that's what the kid wants from you, for you to be with him. Kids love all types of different people. You have the crazy aunt that's so fun, and you have the uncle that just sits there and doesn't do anything, and the kids adore him as well because they just want you to be with them. And people always think like, well, my friend's saying, this is such a joy. My married friends that have kids, this is such a joy. It's so meaningful. I would do it again. And they're suffering. Yes, it's hard. They need to complain to get it out of their system because they're doing something hard. But it's so, so gratifying. And about motherhood being very hard. So there's two things I want to say about it. One is I want to go back to the point we were saying that you can learn it. It's a skill. Skills, you learn skills. It's not something that comes naturally or in the beginning. You don't have the fully fledged skill in the beginning. You have to learn it. But it's so special to be able to tune in to other people. And it's always this game of you have it in you, and you also learn it, and you learn to feel comfortable in it. And I think also what's different between America and Israel is that because more and more women are choosing not to have children, the idea of a mother in America is very different from the idea of a mother in Israel. That's why Mother's Day is a very westernized concept, because you took motherhood, you took mothers, and I'm not saying this in a blaming way, but I just want us to recognize what happened, and we turned it into this concept, this ideal. You have to be grateful for your mother because your mother is a martyr, because your mother sacrificed so much. You have to always look up at her and always be grateful, and she always deserves to get your adoration. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying that in Israel, when everyone's a mother basically, then as much as we admire mothers, it's very, very how do I explain this? It's not this detached idea. A mother is a very, very concrete technical term, and what that allows you is that it allows you the flexibility to be a mother and not be a martyr. And I think that's huge, because we are living in times where our desire, we want to be moral, obviously. We love feeling morally superior, and we love feeling like good people, which is good, but we don't want to be martyrs. We don't want to die for that. And coming from a country that has real martyrs, real people that are willing to risk their lives to fight for the country and fight for our lives, we don't want to live a life of martyrdom. We want to live a life in pursuit of the highest values, in pursuit of the highest goals. We want to put all of our energy and our efforts into something worthwhile. And yet we don't want to suffer for it. And I think in Western culture, the mother became this ideal of a martyr. And obviously I'm Jewish, and I think it's a bit of a Christian idea, right? The Virgin Mary, this martyr of a mother who's sacrificial. And in Israel, you're a mother, but you're also other things. You're also a woman, you're also a wife. And it balances out, and you know that you don't have to sacrifice your entire life. It's a very specific time frame with babies where it's crazy to see. Like a human will turn into a mother, and that can consume her being. But then she comes back to life, right? In Israel, you walk down the road and you see 10 different mothers, right? And there isn't one right way to be a mother. There's the mother who loves to cook for her kids, and there's a mother who will not. And she loves to spend time with her kids. And there's a mother who's so kuchi muchi, and she loves kisses and huggies and chaim sheli, I love you. And she's always talking like that. And there's the mother who's, you know what, she's a colder person. She's just a more rational person. And that doesn't make her any less of a mother. And when you don't normalize mothers, it turns into this concept and idea of how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to look, which isn't right. Because we forget that a kid is made up from his parents. And that's one of the reasons that his parents are so good for him, because they're like him. Why does a kid need, for example, a kid for a more rational mother? He doesn't need all the warmth that a more emotional mother would give him, right? Because he's more rational like his mom, and he can still be different. And that's so important that we don't turn mothers into these martyrs, because as we're trying to pay them the respect and admiration that they deserve, we are turning them into a being that's detached, and we don't want to be martyrs. And in Israel, I'm going to say this from my generation's perspective, because every generation has it a bit different. But in Israel, mothers aren't martyrs. Everyone knows that your mother is going to yell at you, and that's fine. And she's going to get mad. That's fine. And she has to go spend time with her friends. That's fine. And the kids are going to stay with a babysitter so mom and dad can have a date. Normal. It's normal. It's fine. You don't have to be helicopter parents. You don't have to be there 24/7. Your kids are going to survive without you. You don't have to be a perfect mom, right? We're trying to, I think if I would say it in a sentence, we're trying to respect mothers, and what we end up saying is mothers are amazing, they're perfect, and then we don't let them be faulty. But mothers are humans, right? So they're also going to be faulty, and it's fine. It's completely normal. And that brings me, I love how this is all tying together. I feel like siyata dishmaya, right? The help of God in the words I'm saying. That brings me to the next thing. I think where I feel like definitely something that I've been through is that we've all seen or are carrying with us memories from the past, trauma from the past. It might be from our family. It might even be from our parents' childhood. We remember the pain. And I think for a lot of us to face the risk, I won't say that for myself, but for people to face the risk of being like their mother, right? And maybe hurting their kid like their mother hurt them, or they don't want to cause their kids any hurt. And we're coming from a time, and this is really painful to say, and thank God that it's not everyone like this, but we're coming from a time with a lot of broken homes, a lot of broken families, and broken families that left us scarred. And in those scars, we've abandoned the idea and the value of a family. We've forgotten what an amazing thing a family can be, how protective, how loving, how much fun we can have in our family, because we're carrying familial trauma. And I think that's right for a lot of people. And if I'm reading this correctly from me being part of Western culture, but obviously living in Israel and not in America, a lot of us are carrying family trauma, and we're just abandoning the ship. We're saying, we're not getting into this. We're not going to try to get married, to build a family, to have kids. And a part of it is protective of our kids, right? We don't want them to suffer like we suffered. And it's real. It's complex trauma, and this family trauma is real, right? We're in an age where kids are trying to detach from their parents in every way possible. They don't want to talk to them anymore. It's real. It's real issues, and it's real pain, and it's real suffering that people are going through. But take this from an Israeli who, we have lived in a war zone since our country was founded. And we are still having children and building families and getting married. And widowers of the war that we're having right now are still getting married again and saying, we're building, we're creating families. And that's not obvious. It's not obvious at all. And it comes from two places. It comes from optimism, amazing optimism in life, and knowing that life is worth all the suffering. And I think we have to come to terms with that in each of our individual lives so we can also say it nationally. And I know it's a big ask, but that's what we need to do. And a deep belief in family. In family and in relationships. And I think one of the reasons that family is breaking down so much in our generation is for us to be able to rebirth it into a beautiful concept where it's everything that it's meant to be, right? If I say family and dream about a family, what will you dream? Love, right? Endless love and happiness and patience and forgiveness for mistakes and being here for each other. And family can be all that things. We can build all that things, but we have to choose to build. And in an age where there is a lot of mental suffering, we have to make the decision that just like our parents, grandparents, and ancestors before us decided that life is worth living through all the suffering, all the physical, intense suffering that humanity has been through, then also our life and life in general is worth it through the suffering. If you don't have clear meaning for your life, then it's going to be hard to want to bring a child into this world. And I know some people are going to say that I'm talking about this from a very high perspective and it's not that deep. People are just very selfish and individualistic. And I think it's true in a sense, that it's easy to fall into selfishness. And it's hard to see that selfishness is a child trait when you don't have children around you, right? When you have children around you and you want, for example, 2 kids to share and you see that one kid doesn't want to, then you recognize that it's a children's trait. And then you ask yourself as an adult, how am I doing better? But when you don't have that mirror, then sometimes our childish traits, we don't see the immaturity in them, right? So I don't think it's just clear selfishness. I think we truly have to heal a part of us, heal our inner child, for us to be able to assume responsibilities of an adult, right? As long as we're trying to heal our inner child and give our inner child what we didn't get, and as long as we're addicted to being children, then we don't create the space for children to be children. And we don't want to we don't want to have children because we want to be able to be kids on our own. Instead of living with them, we want to continue our childhood. So what I want us to do is to choose healing and to choose life. And I don't know how that looks individually for each person, right? How do we each heal our familial trauma? And how do we create families that are the epitome of what a family should be? Obviously, every family has faults. Every family is crazy in some sense. But we can do it. We can build good families. We have that ability and we have that in us. And it's so valuable and so important because families are the building blocks of society. And kids without a family feel it the most. But I think we can also feel it when we're lonely. We can feel the lack of the family network. So I think this is a really deep request from the bottom of my heart for us to build healthy families and to want to build families. We have to heal the idea of a family inside of us. Now I want to say something to mothers regretting motherhood. And I'm not a mother. Hopefully soon I'll be a mother as well. First of all, I want to say I see your pain. It's so difficult It's so difficult. You're supposed to have some support. You're supposed to have feeding into your system, right? You're supposed to receive so that you can give so much. And sometimes you find yourself at the end of giving and giving and giving, and you don't have enough. And that's very, very difficult. And I think women posting about it is a cry for help, and they want to share their pain. And I want to give you a big, big hug from the bottom of my heart, because you are being a mother and you are doing something that you were designed by God to do, and it's very, very challenging. And I want to tell women that naturally, by the order that it goes, we first want love and then we want children. Obviously, when you grow up with children around you, a lot of women really, really desire kids even before they're ready for a relationship. But the truth is that you're supposed to have a relationship, a stable, loving relationship, and then bring kids into the world. And we do live in a broken world where the ideal situation is not available to everyone. Not everyone has it. I'm not here to judge if it's your responsibility or your mistake, or I'm not here to cast guilt around, because I don't think that's gonna help, right? I want to say that naturally what happens is that you find a man that you love, and then you want to have children, right? When you feel safe and secure, stable, and you have everything you need, then you overflow and you want to give. And I think it's so beautiful to see it in celebrity couples or in influencer couples, that it naturally happens. I don't know if these women always wanted kids, but I feel like it's a very natural thing at some point when you're in a loving relationship. Obviously, we can't know what every relationship looks like through a screen. And I want to give all you mothers a big, big, big hug. And I want to ask you to join me in my quest to build a better world, because we can just turn our back to all of the hurt and all of our scars that we got from our families and just abandon the ship. Like I said before, it's just, this isn't mine. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to heal. I don't want to go through the pain. And I think we can do greater things than that. We can build a world full of love and happiness. And it's very, very hard to embody love and happiness when you've experienced otherwise. And I truly feel deeply that this whole debate around motherhood is a debate around this issue. Okay, if we take away, right, people like to blame different ideologies for the breakdown of the family. Let's look at it in a very, very simple way, from one heart to another heart. Family can be the most amazing thing. Most of us, a lot of us, maybe not most, let's say optimistic, a lot of us have been hurt in our families, and we abandon the ship. We decide it's not worth doing, it's too much work, it's not hard. But we need to ask ourselves, what are we waking up for? Are we waking up for living our childhood dreams, just continuing to be a child adult? Then maybe, if that's good enough reason for you to wake up in the morning. Or do we want to build something lasting, something that will last me past 30, past 40, past 50, past 60? A love, a relationship, a home, a family. Am I here to serve values or to serve myself? When I serve myself, does it do good for the world? Do I care about the world? These are really, really big questions. And I don't think you have to have them all answered before you're a mother. I think, sorry, 1 second. I think it's so natural to want to be a mother and to go into it. And you don't have to have all the answers solved. You don't have to know how you're going to do it. You just need to know that you want it. It's very natural for us to want it. You won't want it if you don't ever experience it. And there was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and I forgot. So we're going to wait until I remember. Drink from your shoko. I remembered. I wanted to say something very, very important. It's true that once you have kids forever, right? That's your family forever. You get to build your family, which is cool because you get to build a family that you always wanted, but it's true that it's a responsibility that's forever. You'll always have this responsibility. But don't forget, your life doesn't end at 50, okay? It does not end at 50. Truly, I think 50 is like when your new life is unlocked. Like if I envision my perfect life, then by 50, all the kids are out of the house because me and my husband are going cruising. We're going to have fun. I'm going to go write a book. And I think we so often feel like we have to live now because we won't have later. And that's not true. If you build your family now, then by 50, you're reaping all the benefits. You're eating the sweetest fruits of having the people around you, having people that you truly love. And I think we don't see that potential, right? We're only seeing kids as a burden, as someone that's harming us, as a leech, even. But I want you to think about this like this. Think of one of your friends that you want to be her friend for the rest of your life, right? Those two old ladies that dye their hair pink and then go scuba diving in Australia when they're like 70 together and they're taking selfies. Think about who you want that woman to be. And think about her right now and her sitting next to you. And think about how much you love her and admire her and appreciate her. And think about how much you're proud of her because you've been with her through the hard times. You've been with her through the difficulties when she picked herself back up. You know that she's smiling even though she could have been broken down. Feel that pride in her. And now imagine all that being 5 times fold when you're sitting with your husband, with your kids, with your grandkids. How gratifying is that? I don't think we have enough pictures of that. And it's so simple. It's not that hard. You respect your kids as humans, as their own humans, and you forgive your mistakes and their mistakes. And it's scary, right? We're seeing the ramifications of familial trauma and problems, and I want to get out. But it's possible, and it's not that hard. And we have a lot of resources. We're living in a time full of resources. So I think my ending quest is for you to subscribe. No, not question. How do you say what I want to ask for you? Bakasha. Okay? What I want to ask from you is to embark on a journey of healing, to choose healing in your life. When you think of motherhood, be brave and look it in the eyes and talk about it and think about it. Truly what you feel, truly what you think and where it's coming from, and choose healing and choose to build a better world. And a world full of families is a better world. A world lacking families is a world that's torn apart and it's broken and people are lonely. And I'm not saying that we don't have loneliness in Israel, but I'm saying that our families are very, very strong. And I wish that upon everyone. So every person has to answer for themselves. Is family truly one of my values? Is it my value, or is it something that someone else told me to value? Is it something I value? And if you value it, and you value it in motherhood, then know that you could find great joy in it. Truly, it's one of the most amazing things. It turns your life into a game. It gives you all those little or big time slots, right? You come home from work. Work isn't the meaning of life. It's not going to give you meaning. When you come home from work and you're sitting on your couch on a Saturday, right? For us, it's Shabbat. Who do you want to spend time with? Who are you with? Do you always have to go out of your house to look for company? Or do you have everything you need, everything you want, all the people you admire, respect, and are proud of right here next to you? Living together isn't always easy. Living alone is hard. And I think we're trying it more and more out. And I hope at some point we're going to be sick of it and we're going to choose to live together. So that's where talking about motherhood takes me and regretful mothers. I truly want to give every one of them a hug. Um, I don't think it's the time to shame people for their decisions. I think it's a great time to empower them, give them a big hug, and tell them, you're amazing and you got this and you can do it and you don't have to martyr yourself. Um, and everything you do is seen by God and appreciated by God. And that is my opinion, my 2 cents from here in Israel.